Like the pancreas, the liver is an accessory organ. It is a very large organ in our body. So if we look at where this is in our digestive system and how it relates to the other organs, you'll notice that it sits up underneath the diaphragm. So your diaphragm would be located like right here. And then you'll notice that in this cadaver image, we can see that it is actually quite a large organ with left and right lobes to it. When we look at this liver, we can ask, what is the function? And the liver does so many different things. So one function that it has is it aids, or it does produce bile. So one of its functions is the production of bile. Now, bile has a color to it. It is actually derived from the breakdown of hemoglobin. So when we break down red blood cells, erythrocytes, we break down the hemoglobin and we use part of the hemoglobin to produce bile. You'll remember that bile actually is functions in mechanical digestion, not chemical digestion, but mechanical digestion of fat. So sometimes they're called bile salts, but this bile, this component, acts as a detergent. So we have big fat globules, and then in the presence of this bile, it produces small fat droplets. And this increases the surface area over which enzymes can actually attach. So it's considered a emulsification, a detergent. It's considered mechanical digestion. Okay, so that's one of its functions. Another function is that it filters blood and removes nutrients and destroys toxins. So you'll remember that from the small intestine, there is what is called the hepatic portal vein, which drains the blood from the small intestine to the liver. So blood from the small intestine is transported to the liver. And we store glucose as glycogen, and then these amino acids can be used to produce important proteins. So glucose is stored as glycogen. And regulation of blood glucose levels is really important. And so we wouldn't want to eat a lot of sugar, absorb a lot of sugar, and have that blood go straight to our brain, like straight to the heart and then out to the brain, because our brain would we'd go into a coma and die. So by it going to the liver first and the liver extracting most of that sugar, that also helps to regulate. And remember that that is in response to the hormone insulin that causes those cells to take the glucose out. Okay, so then amino acids are removed to produce important proteins. And some of these proteins are found in our blood. So for example, albumin is found in our blood, and clotting factors are also found in our blood. The third thing, besides removing nutrients, is that the blood is filtered of toxins. So it helps to break down toxins. We take in toxins all the time. Plants naturally produce toxins in order for to prevent us from eating them. So like broccoli has toxins in it. Almost all the plants have a little bit of toxin in them, and those toxins are broken down. But also we take in things like preservatives. We take in pesticides and herbicides. All of those things we need to be eliminated from our body. And one way that happens is through the liver. So maybe that's one reason why our liver is so important. We can't survive without it, but also it tends to be a large structure. So if we look at where this liver is in relationship to the small intestine and the pancreas, we can notice that it is, and it has a duct that transports this bile down into the duodenum. And bile is actually first stored in the gallbladder. So we have this gallbladder, and this stores bile. Now, sometimes people have gallbladder blockage, or they have infection in their gallbladder. And we can sometimes get gallstones, which are cholesterol and bile salts wrapped up together. And that can block, say, for example, this bile duct. And so sometimes the gallbladder has to be removed. And when it's removed, a person has to be more careful about the types of foods that they take, specifically high fat foods. So fat is not going to be as easily broken down. And if it stays in these big fat globules, it's going to move through our intestine really fast. And so people who have had their gallbladder removed sometimes get diarrhea if that becomes a problem, that they eat too much fat and it just moves through their system too quickly. Okay, so that's the gallbladder sitting right here in the structure. And then there's a duct that would transport the bile down into the small intestine. So you can see that the bile duct and the pancreatic duct actually open near the same place in that system. So those are the three main functions of the liver.